President Trump signed an executive order on Monday that requires commercial truck drivers in the United States to be proficient in English. This comes just weeks after a video of a truck driver went viral after he was given a literacy test.
Couldn't believe it. Going through Arkansas, I thought it was a joke. Got stopped at the way station in Arkansas and was handed a piece of paper. And it says, "Can you read and write English?" I said, "Yes, sir, I sure can." He goes, "Can you read this?" So I read it to myself, and I was like, "Okay," I started handing it back. He goes, "No, read it out loud for me." So I read it out loud for him, and, it was short and sweet, no problem. He goes, "Now, can you write this for me on this paper?" And I did, and there was a whole bunch of people that had already written on it. And I was actually witnessing people in handcuffs that had been pulled in, and I was like, "What's going on?" He goes, "Oh, we've come across now that if you cannot read or write in English, that it's a $5,000 fine, and if you have a company in Arkansas that employs people that can't read or write in English, it's a $10,000 fine paid on the spot. If you cannot pay it, you're automatically arrested and lose your license." What a shocker.
At the time of this video, there was no clear verification that officials in Arkansas were in fact conducting roadside English tests for truckers. A spokesperson for the Arkansas Highway Police, a division of the Arkansas Department of Transportation, stated via email on March 19th that the force was not administering.
Okay, so I've seen several videos that talk about this, so it is not just a one-off, okay? And my point of view is not going to be what you think. I personally have no problem with the requirement to be able to read and write English if you work for an American company. I have no problem with it. Especially something as serious as truck driving, when you have the rules of the road. I have no problem with having to show proficiency in the English language. Okay? Not necessarily writing it, but definitely being able to read and comprehend it. But let me tell you where it gets a little bit, the peanut gets a little chewy. Because, see, I immediately went to voting literacy tests. And I don't know if they study that, and those of y'all who have a problem with CRT, I'm sure y'all don't want this talked about. Okay? But see, let me go ahead and pull it up. Between 1850, now my grandmother was born in 1898, I believe. But between 1850 and 1960, my grandfather was born in 1910. Literacy tests were used as an effective tool for disenfranchising African Americans in the southern states. Literacy tests were typically administered by white clerks who could pass or fail a person at their discretion based on race. Illiterate whites were often permitted to vote without taking a literacy test because of grandfather clauses written into legislation. So, here's the rub, y'all. For all you parents who have prioritized everything except education. You hear me? Everything except education. TikTok videos, social media, viral presence, wigs, weaves, lashes, nails, chains. But your kids can't read, or adults can't read. This is the beginning. Hold on. As it relates to immigration, when introduced in the 1890s, the literacy test was a device to restrict the total number of immigrants while not offending the large element of ethnic voters. The old immigration, British, Dutch, Irish, German, Scandinavian, had fallen off and was replaced by new immigration from Italy, Russia, and other points in Southern and Eastern Europe. The old immigrants were voters and strongly approved of restricting the new immigrants. Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? Now, also, the literacy test, based on what I found here, was that, let's see, where was it? It says, this was a Louisiana literacy test. This test is to be given to anyone who cannot prove a 5th grade education. So again, I personally do not have a problem with someone who works for an American-based company having to prove that they can read and understand English. No more than I would have a problem if someone is working in Mexico to read and understand Spanish. No problem with it. But what I want you to understand, for those of us who are born here, okay, who may or may not be able to read and or write, you need to understand history and make it a priority. You heard me read from the when was it? From the 1850s, between the 1850s and 1960s. I was born in 1967. My grandfather, like I said, was born in 1910 and did not leave the South until the 40s to get to California. And see, unlike y'all, whose grandparents might have been a distant memory, I remember mine. I had mine until I was in my 30s. And maybe that's why I have such an appreciation and an understanding and want to stay on top of this, because, see, I know and remember my grandfather and can imagine what he had to go through to prove that he was a man when they was calling him boy. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Take that with you.